For centuries, British birds of prey have been persecuted, blamed for harassing game birds and domestic poultry. One species was even named after its reputation for chasing chickens: the hen harrier, much maligned and misunderstood. It is one of our least known but most vulnerable birds of prey. The plumage of the owl-like female contrasts sharply with the tailored grey neatness of her mate. The difference between the male blue hawk and female ringtail was destined to confuse naturalists for hundreds of years. Few could believe that the two birds were of the same species. Traditional farming meant that grain was spilt and wasted. The small seed-eating birds in which hen harriers thrived were abundant. Last century, pairs of harriers were a common sight, even in southern counties. But guns were often raised at this unpopular predator. Both persecution and changes in the countryside caused the harriers to disappear. They became a rare sight south of Scotland. By the First World War, the species only nested in the most remote parts of Britain. As the nation's guns were trained in different sites, the fortunes of the hen harrier improved. Two world wars had increased the nation's demand for timber. A post-war forestry boom gave the harriers a perfect opportunity to expand their nesting grounds. Often persecuted on open moorland, conifer plantations allowed them to breed undisturbed. Although still uncommon, harriers now nest at a number of mainland sites. The timber boom is over, but the uplands are still covered with a patchwork of conifer plantations. Typically a bird of exposed moorlands, hen harriers still thrive in these forests. Young conifer plantations are ideal harrier hunting grounds. Voles and meadow pipits are all plentiful. Long-legged and clumsy on the ground, once in the air, the hen harrier is a master of aerial maneuvers. In this bird, swiftness and agility are perfectly combined. Prey may be caught unawares with the surprising speed of an attack. In Britain today, it is the forest nesting harriers that raise their young most successfully. Commercial forests take nearly 40 years to mature. Many post-war plantations are now ready for processing. As old trees are felled and stripped, the forests are continually replaced. But no one can be sure how suitable the new plantations will be for hen harriers or their prey. Still at risk when nesting on open moors, forest sites remain vital for breeding harriers. The demand for timber gave the hen harrier a chance to breed again on mainland Britain. This opportunity, so recently gained, might easily be lost. The hen harrier is found throughout the Northern Hemisphere. In autumn, British harriers disperse from their nesting grounds. Many head west for Ireland or to northern France. Colder winters drive Scandinavian hen harriers south to join those that remain here during the winter months. The birds are regularly seen hunting through the fields of northern Britain and East Anglia. Like all raptors, hen harriers rarely receive a warm welcome from other birds, but a female is not easily deterred from her early morning mission. Distance presents no problem to a strong winged harrier. Birds will fly 20 miles from the roost, patrolling hedgerows, woods and fields. Wintering finches seek safety in numbers as they flock together. They may feed in the same field for weeks, picking among the weeds and beet tops. Harriers make regular hunting trips, searching the same fields in the hope of a lucky strike. The slightly larger females are capable of killing young game birds and rabbits, but a fully grown pheasant would really be quite safe. A vixen's bark in neighbouring woodland overrides the peace of a winter's afternoon. These waterlogged reeds conceal trampled beds of vegetation where harriers roost in safety, away from foxes and other predators. Solitary hunters, hen harriers often roost together. In the hour before sunset, individual birds stream back towards the reeds. As if by sleight of hand, birds already settled are displaced by late arrivals. During the time of their decline, such gatherings were rarely seen. Today, roost numbers fluctuate throughout the winter. Sometimes 30 birds have been seen at one location. When stronger winds are gusting, the harriers demonstrate their sheer exuberance with flight, stalling and diving in a timeless pageant before finally dropping down to roost. The Hebridean island of Islay, close to the west coast of Scotland. Islay is best known for its whisky and flocks of wintering wildfowl. Barnacle geese mow their way across a field on the RSPB reserve, ignoring the daffodils that were once cultivated here. Year-round, the reserve provides refuge for hen harriers as well as water birds. Rabbits are the main source of food for the female harriers that overwinter in Islay. Successful hunting now will ensure the female reaches peak breeding condition by spring. Patrolling the field edge where the rushes end is a favourite hunting strategy. Success will only come if she can snatch at a young or unwary rabbit. By early March, spring has begun to change the character of the island. The first geese depart for Iceland, a staging post on their long onward flight to Greenland. Roe deer seek for new growth amongst the winter-dried heather as the first pairs of breeding harriers return, circling high over the moor to make a preliminary inspection. A hint of unsettled weather and the birds disappear. A bad spring can disrupt their aerobatic courtship routines. On the first fine day, the female drifts in the air, displaying her bright ringed tail. It is time to re-establish old partnerships. Male hen harriers often support more than one female. He may already have another partner, but by playfully mirroring her in flight, he shows that he is still interested. Eventually the birds part, and she settles to watch the early stages of his undulating display flight. She waits as his performance moves on to another stage. Drifting low over the heather, fluttering his delicate wings, he marks a potential nesting site. But this is only a warm-up routine. The real Skydance spectacular is yet to begin. There is no regular pattern to this frenzied dance, no adequate explanation for the elaborate turns as the male corkscrews through the air. His grey body glints in the sun as he repeats his reckless performance across the moor. With one female already settled, his dance may attract more birds to join his harem. Females too will skydance when competition for males is fierce, although their courtly performance is often more sedate. Before the nest is finally built, the female waits to follow her partner's lead. Giving chase, she begs him to release his nuptial offering. The meadow pipit's own nest preparations seem uncomfortably close to the displaying harriers. The male lands with his offering, but he has no intention of feeding, certain to have lured the female to his chosen nest site. By the time the harrier is on eggs, most lapwing chicks will have hatched. There will be plenty of young waders to keep the harriers well supplied. Close to the nest site, the female still solicits further attention from her partner. The pair will mate on many occasions before she begins her month-long incubation of the eggs. Moorland blooms are more subtle than spring flowers elsewhere, but the season is still vibrant. Fortunately plentiful, meadow pipits are the mainstay of the harrier's diet. As Britain's most numerous upland bird, the busy parents can raise 2 successful broods each summer. Making only short excursions, the female collects nearby heather stems to add to her nest of trampled vegetation. More familiar as a marshland species, the curlew is also an upland breeding bird. Young curlew chicks are important to the harrier's varied diet. By late May, the first egg has been laid. Others will follow at 2 to 4 day intervals. Fussing around the nest, the female prepares herself for the month-long sit-in as she continues to line the nest with softer grasses. Once laying has begun, the male's hunting luck must increase. To breed successfully, he must supply all his female's demands. At least 4 times a day, the male must return with food. He glides towards the nest, enticing the female to meet him in the air. The food pass is an extravagant alternative to delivering the prey directly to the ground. For him to land would only reveal the nest's exact location. One of the 5 eggs has already begun to hatch, but it will be over a week before all the chicks have emerged. The male's alarm calls are not enough to persuade her off the nest. A buzzard, high overhead, presents no real threat to the hen harriers. Nonetheless, its presence must be deterred. Confident that the male will deal with the intruder, she remains over the eggs. Although smaller than the buzzard, the male pursues his attack with vigor until the larger bird is driven away. The first egg may hatch 10 days before the last chick chips its way into the world. With the tiny white egg tooth still visible on the top of the bill, the chicks are unable to feed themselves. Until their talons are strong enough to grasp the meat, the female plucks the prey and feeds them tiny morsels. The male hunts well away from the nest, quartering the grassland around a deserted cottage. His quarry identified, he stalls and dives into the vegetation to snatch the prey. At a distance, the outcome of the hunt may not be revealed until he rises, a vole or bird clasped in outstretched talons. The low-level food pass is swift and urgent. His bright plumage might attract unwelcome attention while the chicks are young. Coasting low to investigate, the young golden eagle has been attracted by the harrier's activity. The female is vigorous in her defense of the nest. No predator is too big for her to take on. She circles to make sure that danger is over before returning to the nest. Only a week old, the chicks have gained weight, and the cere around the bill is turning to a greenish yellow. The 4th egg failed to hatch. The obvious difference between the chick's size shows how rapidly the young develop. The youngest lunges as aggressively as the other 3, but inevitably its share of the food will be less. At this stage, one of the biggest threats to the chicks is bad weather. Their rabbit grey down is not effective at protecting them from the rain and chill. Although all 4 chicks can barely snuggle beneath her wings, the female does her best to shelter them. It's unlikely that the male will be hunting during the rain. All the hen can do is to sit tight. Any undigested bone and feathers must be removed from the nest. Waste would only attract predators. Successful breeders on islands and reserves, the high moors of the north are the natural nesting grounds of the hen harrier. At 2 weeks, feathers begin to replace the down. In daylight hours, both parents now must hunt to supply the chick's insatiable appetite. But the haste of the male's food drop leaves them exposed and vulnerable to predators. As they lose their down, the young harriers develop the female's brown camouflaged plumage. Any males in the brood will not turn grey until their first summer molt. Feet can be helpful when competing for food. As long as they're your own. As fledging approaches, the young spend more time out of the nest. The dense vegetation provides shade and protection, although they are quick to respond to the adult's return with food. With down still covering the youngest chick's head, the oldest takes its first flight away from the nest. For at least 5,000 years, hen harriers have shared their moorland existence with red grouse. Grouse thrive by eating moorland shrubs and heather, but they are prone to parasites and disease. A bad grouse year may have serious economic repercussions in the uplands. The glorious 12th. From mid-August until December, high prices are paid by those wishing to test both eye and aim with a day on the moors. Grouse shooting became popular last century when landowners realized that grouse numbers could be increased by intensive moorland management. To ensure a large bag, keepers were encouraged to eradicate all predators, including birds of prey. Dogs are quick to retrieve a bagged bird. But the dogs are not the only ones to bring back a kill. Hen harriers do take red grouse, usually those that are young or sick. It is prey that still brings the hen harrier into conflict with those who wish to spare every grouse for the sportsman's guns. Conspicuous as they fly up from the nest, female harriers are easy targets. Once the female is dead, her chicks may often be destroyed. Sun quickly dries wet feathers as the young rest on the heather tops. But a short, sharp storm can still kill weaker chicks, even at this late stage. Once dead, the youngest has provided extra food for its siblings. Soon the parents' relentless spring task of provisioning the young will be over, as the fledglings leave the vicinity of the nest. In the first year, many harriers die, both from natural and, regrettably, human causes. But those that know the hen harrier in flight can only consider it with awe. Its complete mastery of the air continues to amaze as the birds perform their annual sky dance over northern moors.